All right, this is Joycey,
And Blake.
and welcome to Savagely Scaled.
So in this episode, we actually have one of our really good friends, Grace. I was going to say Case for some reason, who's actually moved and left us and has never returned. And she actually gives us some really great ideas for our episode. And this one, we're actually going to be talking to her about her plant-based or vegetarian lifestyle and how it works for her, why she chose it, and dabble into how it works in the CrossFit world and nutrition-wise, because she also did nutrition with our friend Amanda. So we're really excited that she had time to sit down with us. So thank you.
Thanks for having me on. So as everyone has heard, my name is Grace, not Kate. So I lived in Kingman, Arizona for 6 years from 2017 to 2023. And right after COVID and the vaccines came out, I'd always been super active, but I was trying to change up my style because I was weirded out about going to the local Planet Fitness, and I always thought I would really like CrossFit. And so I was like, well, I'll just go there and check out Kingman CrossFit and see if they're open. I'll do their like intro CrossFit 101. And if
I'm so curious. I'm like, who greeted you when you walked in the gym and you're like, I want to join?
I think I had called and set up an appointment to like come in.
Yeah, so Grace
was the one.
Doesn't like I don't think of.
I don't just like raw dog.
That's what I did.
Think about it, and she's like, "Okay, this is my plan."
Yeah.
You to
think that vibe without an appointment.
Yeah.
I showed up without an appointment, and Coach Dave's like, "I'll give you a tour."
Yeah, I had done so Dave did my intake and just kind of like what my goals were, which was what everyone is like get muscle, lose weight, and figured if I hated it, I could just like ditch in 6 months. And because I had seen Kingman CrossFit when you guys were downtown, but my schedule when I was working with the Burrows, like I was out super early, and like the last thing I wanted to do was like work out in the afternoon after being in the field for 8 hours. So it just kind of worked out perfectly because I was also in grad school at the time doing it virtually. So I like needed a physical outlet because I was like in a truck all day working, and then in my off time I was doing grad school, and I was like, I need to move because I'm just like sitting here. And so the rest is history. I was like, I love this, and it was a lot of fun. And Coach Chris and Dave, I checked out a couple different classes and then just ended up settling into noon. A lot of my colleagues were East Coast, so it just worked out better for me to do the noon class and I liked working out in the heat of the day. It just felt like I could finally like sweat because it's so dry out there. So it was like, oh, I can actually like sweat in the middle of the day.
I remember those classes.
She enjoyed everything, and then she left us.
I know.
You'll always go back to that.
Yes. I moved back east because I'm originally from Maryland. So I moved back east 2 years ago, mostly because of the dry. I hate living in the dry. I love the heat, but did not. I wanted to be back where there was humidity, which is not a common. I feel like people who grew up in humidity love humidity. People who grew up with the dry are like, you're crazy. Like no one on the West Coast understood unless they were from the East Coast. I was like, I can't breathe out here. Like I need to go back to where there's like moisture in the air and where I don't feel like I constantly have a scratchy throat from dehydration.
Facts.
But I miss you guys, of course.
I know. I'm like, I lost my workout buddy.
Yeah, it was and then it was an experience moving to a new gym. That was finding a gym that Kingman CrossFit was so great, so I felt like my standards were like super high on like what I expect in a new gym. So yeah, we made it. Now we're here.
That's good. So then going into your life, because I'm pretty sure that you chose this that lifestyle of plant-based and whatnot before CrossFit. So what made you want to dive into that?
So there's a couple different types of plant-based. There's vegan, which is no animal byproducts. So eggs, honey, dairy, silk, wool, in addition to not eating meat. Vegetarian, which is what I am, which is no meat, but I still eat eggs, dairy, honey, but I don't eat like gelatin, which is from bone, or bone marrow. Bone broth is really big right now. What was the other one? Like leather, lard, down feathers is another one that people don't think of when they think of, being vegetarian, because that's, pulled from animals. And then retin, which is usually made in cheese. So like Parmesan, can't eat Parmesan because that's from the stomach lining of cows.
Really?
So there's a couple, yeah. So there's a couple of things that like I've learned along the way. And then there's of course the whole food vegan vegetarians, which are like no processed oils, no flour, no added sugar, no added fat. I'm not that way because I like processed food and I'm lazy. So
I have a question.
yeah.
So you said for vegan, no honey. Why is that? Is that
So it's because it's a byproduct. So just
okay?
like chickens make eggs. So like, yeah. So like bees make the honey.
So that, like if they make it,
Yeah, I guess they produce it. Yeah, because they take the
and
pollen.
because
they use it.
I was in my mind of like, okay, I can see like the byproducts of like when those animals are caged or harmed, but if it's like a product of what they made, which is a byproduct, I mean,
and
me saying it out loud makes sense.
Yeah, and like it's personal preference too. Like, there's certain ways that, you can do it more humanely for the bees. I think the argument, especially for vegans, I believe, and someone may have to fact check me on this, is that like a tablespoon of honey is like a bee's lifetime work. So that's just a perspective, that to take into consideration. But I, again, am not vegetarian. Honey was probably the one I had the hardest time with when I was vegan, just because I used honey a lot because I have allergies. So I ate a lot of local honey to help with environmental allergies. But yeah, so that's the breakdown of light plant-based. I've been vegetarian for 10 years. This year, I started on Farmed Animal Day, World Farm Animal Day, which is October 2nd in 2015. I grew up on it. So I want to start with like, I grew up on a farm, which I guess now is called homesteading. So, it's not like, it wasn't like a big farm. It was just like, we grew our own vegetables, we canned our own vegetables, we raised chickens for eggs, turkeys and pigs for meat, and then we had like cats for mice, dogs for guarding. I've been hunting since I was 12 years old, so 12 into my mid 20s, we hunted for meat. So I've always known where my food came from. So I never really ever considered vegetarian. And then when I moved into the animal welfare world, because I grew up taking care of animals, so I always loved animals. And my first two internships were at two big cat sanctuaries where we had big cats that were rescued from the exotic pet trade, roadside zoos, and I just kind of saw this whole other realm to the animal welfare field that I could get into. My first big kid job out of college was at Black Beauty Ranch in East Texas. And that's a sanctuary for animals that have been rescued from abuse, neglect. So we had primates that were rescued from the pet trade and biomedical research. We had big cats and exotics that were rescued from canned hunting or backyard zoos and stuff like that. And then we also had farm animals and wild and horses and donkeys. They were probably the largest amount. So I was a farm animal and wildlife caregiver when I was there. And probably a couple years in, we had pigs at the sanctuary, but we had some feral pigs that lived in a 5-acre enclosure that were too dangerous to really like be going in on a regular basis with them. And we had our pot-bellied pigs that were people's pets. People think that micro pigs are a thing. If you guys have ever seen videos of Esther the Wonder Pig. Her owners had bought her thinking she was a micro pig, and then she turned into like a 700-pound like farm pig. We get a lot of those where it's like people don't realize how big potbelly pigs can be. They can get up to 200-300 pounds. But we had a lot of them, and we had a couple rescue farm pigs come in from a backyard butcher in New York. It was around 170 animals that were rescued, and we had taken in 6 pigs. And Pete was a pink farm pig, so a Yorkshire, which is what I grew up raising for me. And so this was again like 2 years in, and we had for sanctuaries, if you are GFAS accredited, which is Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, you're required to have an enrichment program for your animals. So enrichment is basically creating like a stimulating environment and giving them, things to do and keep things engaging for them. And so for the pigs, we would do love days, which is we would go in, brush them, give them belly rubs, and play music for them. Just like, yeah, like it's so nice. Like, and I was like petting Pete. Again, I had never really had an interest in being plant-based. A lot of my colleagues were vegan at the time. I had already started slowly because again, we work with animals from biomedical research. I had like slowly started like switching over to like cruelty-free products of like shampoo and deodorant. And I tried buying like humane certified meats and free range eggs and stuff like that to try and like, make some more conscious choices. And then, I was giving Pete belly rubs, and it just kind of like hit me that I was like, oh, man, there are so many other pigs that are like, no one's ever going to know if they loved belly rub. And I was just like, it just like immediately like hit me. And I was like, I don't think I want to eat meat anymore. And I just went like cold turkey. I was like, I'm actually good. I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
And it was kind of easy for you, would you say, just making that move, that transition over from?
Yeah, I feel like I had, again, I had a lot of colleagues that were vegan, and I feel like I had a couple years to kind of see like how they navigate eating in a world. And then also being in East Texas, there's a lot of Tex-Mex, so there's a lot of like beans, right? I feel like if I tried to be vegetarian on the East Coast at the time, where like I was eating a lot of seafood, and I also, had a lot of pizza options. Like East Texas is not known for their pizza, so it was like Pizza Hut was the option, and it was like, I'm good.
Oh man.
So I mean, I love Pizza Hut, but it was just like there was no local place. The only local places to eat were like Tex-Mex restaurants. So it was like there's a lot of options for if you're vegan or vegetarian. So and there's a lot more options now. I was not the greatest vegetarian when I first started. I think I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so easy. I'm just going to change out all my meat for like black bean patties, and it's going to be fine. And I like lost a ton of weight because I had a super physical job, and like my hair started thinning. And my mom was actually the one that had like pointed it out to me, and it was like, oh, it's because I'm not eating enough protein and I'm not eating enough food, because I was just like, I can just switch this out for portobello mushrooms and black bean burgers, and it's gonna be fine. And I was like, you have to do more than this. Like so it got easier once I figured out that like I can't just trade black bean burgers for my meat product.
That's fair. And what about like in terms of like the cost for pursuing a plant-based diet? Would you consider it to be more expensive, less expensive? Like what's your experience with that?
I think there is cheaper ways to do stuff. Like I also shop at Aldi's for a lot of my food stuff, but I think at the time I had already switched over to like humane certified meat, and I was kind of like, why am I spending $7 for like 2 breasts of chicken when I can just spend $7 for this like bag of meatless meat? Because I think from like the perspective of like factory farms where you're looking at Purdue and Tyson, where you can get a $5 for a 5-pound bag of chicken. So it's like compared to that, like, no, it's not going to be, but there's, ways you can as far as like beans, rice, fresh veggies. There are alternatives, but I feel like now that I'm like 10 years in, I don't remember what the cost was, like the cost difference. But at the time, I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, this honestly, like, this isn't that much of a difference. Though, my ex at the time, when I was dating him, because we had separate groceries, and then he would like want to try my stuff. And so he would like eat it and then like not replace it. And I was like, that's a death sentence because I budget my food.
Right.
So if you're gonna eat it, you need to replace it. He's like, well, don't you like want me to be vegetarian? I was like, not if you're gonna eat my food and not replace it. Don't touch my food.
That is called parenthood.
Yeah.
Because you have children who, after you measure out your macros and have your meal prep and you bring it out and they go, ooh, is that spicy? And I've learned to say, yes, yes, it is. And it's the
It is
hot
spicy.
spice. Yes, because
Yeah.
I have one who's like, well, I'll try it anyways. And I'm like, no, I was like, really? And it is. It's like, I just made that meal for me and I need all of it. Nourish myself. I tried becoming a vegetarian eons ago. Yes, Baker's was my best friend because they had a vegetarian burrito and I would make them at home. But yeah, I went to Costco for like my black bean burgers because it was more cost effective for me that way because Blake is one that buys in bulk when she fixates on things. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to remember because
it's hard to
younger
like
than me, so mine was like 12 or 13 years ago, and I remember veggies went up at a point, and they were like, it's cheaper to do fast food.
And then it's more perishable, I would assume. Like, obviously, if you buy like fresh vegetables, like I need to eat those within like a week or two or less.
Yeah.
Versus frozen food where I'm just like, oh, frozen veggies, nice. Like I can just pop it out whenever. So that for me is like one of the biggest concerns too. It's just longevity of the products.
Because it was like frozen stuff where I was like, I can buy a lot of frozen. I don't like frozen all the time and fresh, like you said, like the longevity. And then it was like, oh, which if I knew then what I know now, because I do groceries every week, probably would have been okay. But I think it was me being lazy and just being like, that is so much to prep. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. To where now I'm like, it wouldn't be bad. I just really like love meat.
I mean, there's
a love day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of with doing plant-based, the buying in bulk is great. The buying frozen helps with the longevity. You can always buy like canned food. I definitely buy fresh and I try to do fresh, like, weekly stuff. But, there are certain things that like I know now like are gonna last longer. That like apples are gonna last like a couple weeks in the fridge. And like I tend to eat bowls of spinach versus bowls of lettuce because I know spinach will last longer in the fridge than like regular green lettuce. So like there's things like that I will try to like, but it's easier for me too because I'm a single person with no kids or anything, so I only have to budget for myself. So I have a lot more flexibility with it, but I try to shop at Aldi's to save as much money as possible.
Yeah. How does working out, like, do you have to increase something or how do like
how do you get your protein in and all of that?
Yeah. I think because I've done it for so long and I've had such physical jobs that like I've never really noticed a difference in my energy level. I've had relatives comment on like, oh my God, like how are you getting enough protein? Like you must do you just like drool when you look at graphs? And I'm like, look at me. I am very clearly not starving. Like I am a like well-muscled person. So I've always, been really physical. It was just like eating the right amount, being when I did the nutrition coaching about being conscious about nutritionally dense food versus just like eating for calories. That was probably where I suffered the most when I was like trying to work on like weight loss, was like, okay, well, I got to drop to 1,200 calories. So like, what am I going to cut out and what am I going to keep? And I just was better at eating less but bad food so that I could still get my bad food in versus like focusing on nutritionally dense stuff, which is, Amanda helped a lot with that as far as making sure. But yeah, Amanda never had to worry about protein with me, which I think I believe she told me I was her first vegetarian client. So we were kind of learning together on like what things she can recommend to me and what things we can't. But she did say it was nice that, she never had to worry about my protein, and any of the omnivore clients that she had, if they ever complained about not meeting their protein goal, she could be like, my vegetarian
Makes
is
it
able to
happen.
meet her goals. You don't have any excuses.
I
Right?
mean, it's crazy when I hear when people are with her and they're like, yeah, she made me track and it's my protein. And I've learned over the years, like, to not have my surprise face, because I was like, that was never my issue. And if it's my issue, it's because I'm having a bad week. It's usually
Yeah.
carbs that were
Carbs.
and still are hard for me to hit.
It's usually like my fat and my protein are very high and my carbs are super low. And that's also, again, because I'm not a very good vegetarian. So I've had a lot of sensory issues with veggies. So because I didn't want to spend my entire life as a vegetarian eating cucumbers, broccoli, and spinach, I've had to like expand and work on. So I eat a lot more vegetables now. Yay.
Nice.
But trying to like get enough. And then also like veggies are not satisfying because when you log them in, it's like I ate like 4 cups of broccoli and I got like
Yes.
5 carbs. Like, what is the point of this? I could eat a bag of chips and be done with my carbs for the day. Like, it's versus, so I try to like focus on fruit because I'm like, okay, fruit, if I have an apple,
like
that's
you
at least going to be
big
20. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm going to get like a nice jump up versus I know the whole point is supposed to be like you're eating super filling, but I'm just like, God, I've eaten like this entire bag of broccoli and I'm still nowhere near these carbs.
Yes, I do that with my celery, and I'm like, wow, it was like 200 grams of celery, a little dip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is it such little numbers? But then I always have apples because they are my go-to. If grapes are not like filling it out, because it's always grapes too. Strawberries, I could eat tons, and I'm like 10 ounces, and it's just tiny, and I'm like, well, I can't sit here and eat 20 ounces of strawberries, so
yeah. And like the blueberries come in like the smallest container known to man. I'm like, this is a handful. Like I can pop this whole container in my mouth. So like you can't buy them unless they're on sale. And I am not a fan of frozen blueberries.
Yeah, no.
Like I only use them in like pancakes or like baking or stuff. I do the like protein pancakes. As I said, I'm very lazy, and if I can't do it easily, I'm not gonna do it. And my very good friend bought me when I first went vegetarian, like pitas. It was like PETA's guide to like being a vegan in college. And so like it's all these meals that you can just like make in a microwave and like super easy. And so it's like, and it's like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. And so like I use that a ton because it's just like my favorite is like the pancake in a mug, which is just like a half cup of pancake mix. So I have the protein pancake, throw in extra protein powder, like applesauce, oat milk, and then like 2 tablespoons of blueberries, like stir it up, pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and then you have like a nice little like pancake in a mug.
I like that. Well, it sounds like. Did you have a question first?
You can go.
I was gonna say, it sounds like it was like a lot of trial and error, like figuring out like these are the the foods I need to eat to get to that. So based on your experience, like what are some of the plant like foods that are high in protein?
That was
yeah, I was like quinoa is really great because you can eat a lot of it, and I'm getting those carbs too. Lentils. I'm a big fan of the protein pasta, which is like lentil based. So that gets me lentils, but also you can just eat like normal lentils.
Doesn't taste very different either.
Spinach doesn't have a lot of high protein, but it's usually just like I think like 2 cups of it. I can usually get like a nice addition of protein. There's also the other thing that I just like
Does the
everybody
raccoon
else.
tell you?
I have my oh yeah, my little raccoon. But I have my protein, not a pet raccoon. This is a raccoon from my background in case people are listening.
I know. I was like, is that like
Wild
just a
animals are
raccoon
not
walking
pets.
by?
I
Her
forgot
pets,
about
yeah.
that. They're like, what raccoon?
Wild animals are not pets. It's the background. But yeah, the protein I have like, tofu, soy, so any soy-based proteins. It's usually not, there was a like rumor that went around a while ago that a lot of people still believe that like, when you go vegetarian, you get your estrogen messed up because you're eating a lot of tofu and soy-based. And that is from like one study where this guy ate soy for like every meal for like a decade or something like that, and he came in and had like elevated estrogen, but like as soon as he went to like eating normal again, he was fine. So it's like I do try to like mix up my protein bases. So it's like corn, QUORN is a like mushroom based protein meatless. Seitan, I think is soy. Beyond Meat is pea protein based. So pea protein is another great one. I hate peas, but I will eat pea protein. I have it
also.
Yeah, like it's usually like the drinks are good. Like usually whatever is good. Like peas themselves are terrible unless they're fresh. But the pea protein stuff is fine. Cauliflower, on the other hand, I have a personal vendetta against cauliflower. I will not eat it. And like I hate it, and like I get filled with rage when I see cauliflower. And
I
as
like
a
it fried in
vegetarian,
buffalo sauce.
Good to know.
I swear to God,
Buffalo sauce.
everyone who's just like, "Oh my God, like you should try the like fried cauliflower wings." I'm like, I will slit your throat.
Or the cauliflower pizzas?
It tastes so like when everybody told me that, like I did get my husband
Tastes
to
like
try it.
cauliflower.
Yeah, like they're like it's amazing, and I don't like cauliflower that much. But when it's lathered in buffalo sauce, you can't really taste it. But everything that people are like, it tastes so much better than the vegetable. I'm like, it tastes exactly like the vegetable.
Just got buffalo sauce on it.
And I'm like, it smells exactly like the vegetable. Yeah, those I will have, but I can only have them in Tennessee because I've tried them other places. And this one place called The Goat made it in Tennessee, and it tasted amazing. And everywhere else, I'm just like, this is mushy cauliflower.
Yeah, I think there's one. Oh, yeah, there's one that I've tried that it was like, this is not the worst. It still tastes like cauliflower, but it's not great. Fried zucchini, I don't like. I love zucchini bread because it's basically like carrot cake, but I do not like zucchini.
It is not like carrot cake. Ugh.
But the way my mom made zucchini bread, it was zucchini, or it tasted like carrot cake. But yeah, the zucchini itself, like fried zucchini, is another one that I'm just like, this is a soggy log. Like I don't want this at all. And like when zoodles got really big, when everyone was like, oh my God, just like put your zucchini in the zoodle. And I'm like, you cannot trick me. I know that's a fucking vegetable that you just like.
I'm not crazy about it either.
Like,
yeah, I love.
Sorry if you gotta bleep this out.
I like fried zucchini, but I like when it still has a crisp, like soggy.
Fry it up first,
Yeah,
they do zucchini because fried pickles. There's like spear and chip. Obviously, chip is superior. We're not having this discussion. But is zucchini always a log, or is it ever like chip version? Because I feel like it could be better fried, like as a chip.
So there's chip version, there's log version, and then there's like smaller ones. And I feel like the smaller logs get so soggy.
Yeah.
Too. I like the chip version for it too because it's just nice. But
Yeah.
I think it also is just like how it's cooked, how that like fast food or if it's a restaurant and if they have like because you have to dry that out. You cannot just
Yeah.
like bread it and
Yeah.
then go. It's gonna be soggy. When I used to make my lasagna and I would do like thin strips of the zucchini, people would be like, "Oh, did you just put it in?" I was like, "That would be soup and disgusting." Like I have a whole process and it's not like lasagna that's gonna be good for a whole week. Like I have to eat this like tonight and
Like when
tomorrow.
like when you cook mushrooms and like you just put mushrooms on pizza, it's like, no, you have to cook them first and then put them on because otherwise your whole pizza is going to be soggy.
Yep.
Like it's just going to be wet.
There's
You
so
have
much
to,
moisture in vegetables that you have to
yeah.
cook and you have to cook with them.
A
And you have
lot
to
of
dry stuff and I'm like, can't do it.
But
True.
it does, it's a lot of trial and error, like the East Texas, there was like a lot of beans and rice, but like I didn't know that like a lot of that is also soaked in lard. So I was like, oh, I have to double check that it's not vegetarian. Or I went when we went back to Maryland, my parents were like, oh my God, we got this like Old Bay cheese from the Amish. It's so good. And I was like, sweet. I like checked the ingredients and I saw retin in it. And I was like,
Man.
Can't have
smells really good though.
On that note, like, I'm curious, like, what is it like, I guess, when you go out to eat and there's other people who aren't vegetarian or vegan? Like, what is that like for you having to, like, I guess, be surrounded by people who are constantly eating meat or ordering at restaurants and all of that?
For me personally, it's not a big deal just because that's what I grew up with, and maybe because I got into the vegetarian game so late. A lot of people that I know that are vegetarian, where they've been it for decades, or like my sister-in-law has been vegetarian since middle school. So like her eating meat would be like, physically, she'd
Oh,
get
yeah.
physically sick. But, she has two little girls. She gives them meat, and I'm very much not that I would say it's like a religion, but that like for me, because I didn't choose not to eat meat because is that a double negative? Tricky. But
She's like,
It's
I'm
with me and Joycey here. We really don't.
I know.
Joycey
but
does.
they
Let's just say I don't know how to talk.
not choosing to eat meat, that was just a moral choice that I was like, there's a ton of reasons why people go into being plant-based, whether it's for health reasons, for animals, for the environment, or, they don't like the texture, but I'm not bothered by it. It's more, I usually feel like I only get uncomfortable when like there are like one or two individuals that will have like issues with me not eating meat.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know why. Sometimes they just get defensive about it. Like I had one person that, was a mutual friend and we were hanging out and it was just like it was she had not really wanted to meet me, but my friend kind of like tricked her to hang out with her by accident. And she just like immediately was like, well, I interned at a farm, a lamb farm where I like slaughtered lambs all summer and like I didn't have an issue with it. And I was like, okay, well, I also grew up on a farm and have done, like if we're gonna like measure dicks here, like leave me alone. Like I've done my like, I'm not
Yeah.
asking you to do anything. Like I just wanna so that there's only been those like handful of situations, I usually put on my dating profile that I'm vegetarian, not, and I usually like I say like I don't mind that you're not, but there are certain dudes that will have an issue with it or they'll like, be like, oh, well, I'll just eat two burgers to cancel you out. And I'm just like, I don't know why you felt that was necessary because I really don't care. But again, like I'm not bothered by it. I think it's a personal choice and like religion where it's like believe the God you want to believe in. Like I don't care. It doesn't really affect me. I just want to do what feels good for me and being vegetarian does.
Yeah, because I've never felt pressured, and I think knowing you because I didn't really get to know Grace until she left. So that's when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna build this friendship, and she's leaving.
Across the country.
I know.
And so like we didn't really go out. We'd have like get-togethers at the gym, but I don't pay attention to people's like eating preferences. And
Yeah.
I'm vegetarian and we have to all eat this way. I think if anything, like even when we went to Vegas, like looking at menus and being like
There's usually something.
yeah, and being more present of like now with people, even like with gluten free, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'd rather them have similar options. If I have 20
Mhm.
options, I don't want you to just have one, and I want us to all
Mhm.
enjoy our meal. And
Mhm.
even when we went, I ended up ordering pasta with mushroom and stuff like that because that's
Mhm.
just something that sounds good. I feel like so many people are like, oh, they're vegetarian. I have to order the meatiest thing to show them that meat is good. And it's like, they're not saying meat is bad. It's that's their personal preference what they're going to fuel their body with and what makes them feel
Yeah.
good. So why do I
And
show my point?
yeah, and I think there's, like anything, there's extreme levels on both ends. There's a lot of very, I think I just saw a meme that was like a vegan CrossFitter. What are they going to mention first? Like there's two, extremes on both sides, and I feel I'm in the mindset of, refine, replace, reduce, or reduce, refine, replace, which is like, if you want to try a meatless Monday, do a meatless Monday. I have a lot of family that's Catholic, and so, when I first went vegetarian, they were like this poor lost sheep, like what's going to happen to her? And I was like, you guys give up meat during Lent
Yeah.
every I think it's like every Friday, because that's when the fish fillets at McDonald's come out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so because they
It's
can't eat
time.
like red meat. Yeah, they can eat fish but not red meat.
Yeah.
So it's just like we would have cheese pizza every Friday. Go meatless like every Friday during Lent. So that's at least 7 Fridays that and I think people eat way less meat every meal than like they think they do, but I think it's just like when it's brought to their attention. But I've also had like lovely people that they're like, you're vegetarian, like I'll order this. And I'm like, oh, that's so kind of you. You don't have to. Like I'm really okay. But I think being vegetarian is also, like you said, Blake, like made me more aware of like, when I go to the gym, I try to like make something that is going to be vegan just in case there's someone who is a closet vegan, or, try to do like gluten-free something for like somebody. I think when I did like the baked potato skin, where I did like the loaded baked potato skins with like the, dairy-free sour cream, and I think I forget which, I don't know if I used like carrots as the bacon or something, but there was one person that was like, oh my God, this is gluten free. They're like, yes. And I, used the vegan cheese or whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I provided something that was considerate. But even when I think even when I joined the CrossFit gym, I was nervous that like if people found out I was vegetarian, that I'm like, am I gonna get shit for this? Like,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to leave this gym. Because there are some people that do get like that, but like even when I moved to this gym, I moved the week of Murph, and so they have like a big cookout. And so she, who passed away last year, unfortunately, was one of the co-owners of our gym. But he was like, "Oh my God, like, are you coming? Like, you should come out to Murph." And he's like, "We do a big cookout." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." I was like, "Is there going to be, just so I know, like," he's like, "Oh, we're doing a big cookout." I was like, "Is there going to be any like plant-based burgers?" I was like, "Just so like if I bring some, will you cook them?" And he's like, "Oh my God, you don't need to cook, bring your own." He's like, I'll bring a stack for it. And he bought this like
Aw.
20 pack of Impossible frozen patties for me and hopefully somebody else. But he's like,
Aw.
take them home. I was like, okay, this is like $40 of burgers. Thank you.
Yep.
That's so sweet. That's
It
awesome.
was very, very kind.
I am curious, like, because you did kind of speak a little bit to this, but like how you kind of slowly got started into becoming, into this plant-based diet. So, like, how sustainable is it? I would imagine, like, for someone who wants to like jump in and get started, like, what would be your biggest recommendation on how to get that going for someone who wants to go plant-based?
I think just, I think cookbooks are super helpful, and I think it depends on the individual and like what their goals are and like what they want out of it. For someone who likes to cook a lot, it's going to be really easy for them. There's a lot of, I tend to look at recipes and then I'm like, okay, take out the vegetables I don't like and like what can I put in that this is still going to taste good. But I do try to mix it up a little bit. I feel like probably the first thing I would say to do is, just start small, depending on, if you want, like, do like a meatless Monday, or if you just want to cold turkey it and you're just like, I'm all in. There's usually a plant-based section in the freezer section that you can like go and grab like a bunch of different options. I am an egg whites person, so I have my egg whites for breakfast. And when I start to get sick of them, then I will switch over to like the protein pancakes for like a week. That's a great way to get carbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was those kinds of things. And then if you want to get like inspired on whether or not you should go vegetarian or vegan, that I recommend The Game Changer is a great documentary on vegan athletes. It's James Cameron's the producer. And he interviews a bunch of like professional athletes that are vegan. And then, get into, I think Poisoned is a Netflix documentary that has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. You Are What You Eat, which is those like twins that like one went meat and the other went plant-based. Then you get into like Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy. I was never like, you could also do like pescatarian. A lot of people tend to like, if they like fish, tend to want to eat, they'll give up red meat, but they won't give up fish or shellfish. I never liked fish, so that was never going to be an option for me. But
I don't know how we're friends. I just don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, I mean, I grew up with a family of fishermen, and I was just like, this is awful. Like, my mom was always like, you have to enjoy fishing. I'm like, it's different to hunt and then get to eat the meat, but like, I don't even want to eat the fish. So why do I have to sit here for 12 hours and fish when I don't even want to eat the fish? But the Seaspiracy is where I learned a lot about like the large fishing vessels and like the destroying of the ocean floor for shrimp. But definitely that was it. Shrimp was a hard one to give up. And after watching that, it was like, oh, never mind, actually. But, buy local, that's always a good option. Even if you're wanting to just like, reduce, refine, replace. So if you're wanting to just like dabble in it, just try to buy local, buying from local farms and buying from local fishermen, or, if you're on the Gulf Coast of Florida, local shrimpers, but just do what is affordable to you and what feels good to you. That's my theory on it. So probably going to get hate comments from vegan and vegetarians because I'm probably not promoting this super well.
I think you're doing a good job. I mean, when you said the shrimp thing, and I was like, I cannot watch that because I have my whole week prep is shrimp stir fry.
Shrimp.
And I should work at the Kroger out here because they do not clean the shrimp, and I have been deveining everything myself.
I get nervous about buying frozen. Yeah.
Oh no, I buy it has to be frozen to be here, but I buy like I go to the butcher or the
the raw, yeah.
Yeah, I've done a couple frozen and I just don't
Not the same.
I don't like it.
When I did my master's research, I had to work a lot with blowflies, and so a lot of that was like raising them from eggs to maggots, and then killing them when they were adults. So like putting them in the freezer. So I had to kill a lot of flies for that study, which seems silly because they're flies, and I kill flies every day. Like just walking around, but it's different when you have to kill 100 of them. But I was like, okay, well, like if I'm fine with this, like I can be fine with other things. And then like I went home to visit, my family in Maryland, and they had like a crab cookout, and I was like, oh, I'll probably be fine with this. Like maybe I should try eating a crab to see, like for the nostalgia of it. But because crabs, in case anyone doesn't know, crustaceans are arthropods, which are in that family of bugs. So crustaceans, crawfish, crabs, lobsters are just water bugs. So I was like, this is just a giant bug. And then I like saw its face and I was like, never mind, actually.
Aww.
I feel sad again. And the little octopuses and like the Asian buffets,
Mhm.
Because I know that those can't be octopuses can't be raised in captivity. They have to be like fished from the wild, which I guess is good, but knowing how intelligent octopuses are is just like, oh God, I can't. So there's like little moments like that I'm just like, "Ooh, I'm gonna look the other way."
Yeah.
Right. That's right. I was gonna ask you because you kind of went into it a little bit with breakfast, but like, what does an average day of eating look like for you? Like, if you were to say from breakfast to dinner, or snacks and things like that.
So again, like I said, I have like sensory issues with a lot of foods. So I tend to have my like safe foods that I know I'm going to eat and I know I can eat them every day for months and I'm not going to get sick of them because I'm going to love them. So my breakfast is like my egg whites or my protein pasta with my like little fake meat if I want to add some extra protein. Then I really have gotten into, because again, terrible at drinking water. Um, so I've gotten into like the clear protein powder. So that way I feel like I'm drinking a Gatorade, but I'm like still getting, 24 or 36 ounces of water, but I'm getting like 60 grams of protein, if I'm like having two or three throughout the day.
Mhm.
Especially during the summertime, it's so nice to have like a clear drink because I feel like those like chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, like milk based ones. It's like it's so creamy. And when it's like the
Mhm.
middle of summer, it's like I do not want to drink this.
Yeah.
But fruit, vegetables, I try to add like two or three servings of vegetables every meal except breakfast, just because it's too early and I'm not biting vegetables that early. And then lunch can be like it could be the fake nugget. I think it's Impossible. They have like
To those,
what?
I get
Yeah, they
those.
have like the wildlife shaped nugget. I love those. Any like dinosaur shapes, wildlife nuggets. I'm gonna buy
Support it.
those. I'll do like the ground beef, and I think Amanda gave me the idea of doing like a Big Mac salad. So
Oh,
I will do like the fake ground beef within a salad with like pickles, onions, all that. And then I buy the uh, secret sauce as my
oh
like
yeah.
dressing. Or I'll do like barbecue sauce. And then for dinner, it's usually like protein pasta, veggie, and, you know, whatever fake meat I feel like throwing in. Seitan is usually like pretty cheap, or tempeh. And that's in like the refrigerated vegetable section. Oh, Bellatrix, get out of here.
And I'm like,
Sorry, cats.
Bellatrix.
I was like,
This is
there's
like
a
her
thing.
favorite. Yeah, it's like her favorite time is to like come up when I'm doing video
Oh.
calls. She thinks it's her time. So also on that side note of not being a very good vegetarian is that I also have four animals and all of them eat meat. So I obviously have to buy meat products. Dogs, I think there are vegan dog foods, but I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid on that. I don't know how long that's been going on, and I'm sure there's research on it, but I'm like, in my mind, dogs are omnivorous, so they can't tell me that they want a vegan diet.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make them do it. Cat, I can't be convinced that vegan diets are good for them. They're obligate carnivores, so they need meat. Again, there may be research out that says otherwise, but I will not be convinced of it. And then I have, of course, a rescue snake. I was rescued from the exotic pet trade, and he obviously eats rats, so I buy frozen rats. So not the greatest vegetarian, but I do what I can. And I got all of these guys before I went
But the
vegetarian.
greatest
So
mom,
I was
man.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, this is my choice. I'm not putting my choices onto them.
Right.
I think though you're like more of a realistic
Yeah.
version because when years ago when I thought of it, it was just I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna be this skinny, perfect person because that's what vegetarians are, and I'm not
Hmm.
gonna do all this stuff. And I don't know, like it was very like high and mighty then, and I feel like you're more like the realistic, like this is life and this is what I'm choosing. And how you said like your animals, I feel like it's the same with my kids. Like there's sensory stuff that I don't eat anymore that I still let have my kids try and have them do it because they need to learn as they get older what's going to be bettering their body. And I can't put like the things that do well with me. Yeah, I can teach them, but as we get older with what works with maybe my body type and if they have a body type similar. But yeah, like I'm not going to make that decision for them Like they have to
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And on that note, what's your favorite plant-based meal? If you had
Mhm.
one. Or your go-to?
Oh man, I mean,
I'm gonna say pasta, but I might be wrong.
no, it's probably pasta. I mean, a good pizza is always great.
I know we did good
Actually,
pizza a lot.
a big ol' like the like fancy like what we had at the drag show, the like big ol' fluffy pancakes
Oh yeah.
that are just
Yeah,
like thick syrup and it's just like sugary
French
thickness.
toast.
Yeah, French toast. Like I'm just I love breakfast and love breakfast food.
Because didn't you
So
get the ube
French
French
toast, yeah.
toast?
yeah, I got that. It was like the unicorn French toast.
Right.
And that was like it had like this like lavender frosting on top of it. But yeah, those are probably I can never turn those down because most of the time I'm eating, egg whites every day for breakfast. So if I go out for breakfast, I'm like, I'm getting like the strawberry cheesecake stack of pancakes because that's what I want. So those are usually my like favorites. Ooh, cheesecake. Yep.
We're like, that
Wait,
sounds
and
really good.
Yeah.
I forget about pancakes. I'm like, oh, Oreos. Oh, this. Oh, that. And because I always from years ago thought every single vegetable and you can't have any sort of dessert.
Yeah. Oreos are obviously a classic. Those Selena Gomez Oreos, like so
Joycey
good. My
brought them to
dad
the
did.
movie theater, and I was
did.
like, this tastes like a holiday in my mouth. Like a really fun
Right.
holiday.
Once Joycey said that they taste like Christmas, I was like, that's what it is. That's what this good feeling is. It's like
I was like, that's
holiday
like a
spirit.
gingerbready,
Yeah, like a comfort
cinnamon.
cinnamon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it tastes like Christmas at Disney
Yeah.
in my
Ooh.
mouth. Where I'm just
Yeah.
like,
She did good, man. She did good. She did really good. I was like, okay, girl, I see you. I guess I mean, possibly just asking this, you're probably like, it's all pros, but in your opinion, are there any like cons or like hard things about being plant-based that you're just like, oh, this has always constantly just been a con or something that I struggle with?
Not really. I feel like the biggest con is just like, you never know how other people are gonna react to it. So it's just like 99% of the time have not had issues. And especially now that I've been vegetarian for so long, but I feel like, especially when I first got started and I had to like tell my family about it, which again, like I have, a lot of family where we're farmers or we're hunters. I have my aunt and uncle that are factory farmers for chickens and I grew up going to their house in the summers and helping them with picking up dead chickens every day. So it was
Like a
I think I was
culture, I
more
guess.
worried about being like alienated from my family. I feel like me being vegetarian was like not a bigger deal, but was much more like this is a phase versus like when I was like, I don't believe in God. And they were like, oh, you're not eating meat? Like, what do you mean? You know what I
What's
mean? Like, it was
happening?
just kind of like that. Yeah. Like, it was like that felt like a bigger conversation of like a vegetarian than like the religion side of stuff. But yeah, the vegetarian was much more like, well, what are we going to cook you? Like, I'm not
yeah.
making anything special for you. And it was like, no, you don't have to make anything special. I'm just going to like eat the sides. And then when my sister-in-law came into the picture, when my brother started dating her, she had been vegetarian for like 10 years, 13 years at that point. So, she's a new person coming in. So like they can be rude to me, but they can't be rude to like this new
Yeah.
person coming in. So once, it was also very clear that like she was sticking around. It was like people also started coming around a lot more of like, oh, we have more than one vegetarian. So we gotta like consider both of them. But yeah, that I feel like when I was more insecure about like the choices I was making, and like going up against my family was like what I think I was like most concerned about was like, am I going to be like alienated from them because of this? Because I, probably would have been vegetarian much younger, but because of the family I'd grown up in and like Lily, my sister-in-law, when she had said, she chose to be vegetarian when she was like in middle school. And I was like, what do you mean you chose? You have choices? Like that would never have been an option for,
Yeah.
for me. Like I distinctly like remember sitting at the table because I had to like finish everything on my plate. And like if I didn't like what was cooked, my mom would be like, well, you can go out in the horse field and go eat shit on a stick out there. Like
Right.
this is what I cooked. If you don't like it, then too bad.
I forget about the
So
cultural aspect of it all the time because you're right. Like when I think about like 4th of July and Memorial Day, like it's a big grill culture, especially out here, like
yeah,
grilling and feeding each other and carne asadas, at least for me, things like that. And in culture, it's a very like significant thing to eat it, right? And I
yeah.
never even thought about that part of taking that step and what that means in that sense.
Yeah. And my family's mostly Lithuanian and Polish, so it was a lot of meat-based and potatoes like growing up. So it is still like, I see the like food from my childhood that I'm just like, man, don't get to eat this anymore. But like, it's, I'm fine with it. But it's like, I feel like I miss like part of the cultural aspect of it. I know one of my colleagues in Texas, he had like grown up in Mexico. And so he would always like joke about it because at the sanctuary, we would get a lot of interns that would come in that were vegan. And they would always be like, this was before I was plant-based. And they would be like, well, how can you like work and take care of farm animals, but still eat meat? And he was like, well, I'm not eating these animals. And he's like, and I was vegetarian the first 12 years of my life. And they're like, or vegan the first 12 years of my life. And they're like, oh, what do I mean? He's like, well, in Mexico, we were too poor for meat. So we didn't eat meat. And then they like shut up.
Yeah. They're like, oh, okay.
They're like, it's like, yeah, so mind your business.
Yeah, because that's like a big, huge thing too, though, like affordability. And I think even now with affordability, there are meat, but it's not like it's the fattiest portions or it's the ones that don't have actually, you're like, yeah, and what is healthy and what's not. And I'm just like, you have to look at like your culture, you have to look at expensive, you have to look at everything, and it's just so many things to think about.
Yeah.
For something
And
that
it's
people
again,
think are so that something that's just like a switch or just like something that is so small, and it's really not.
yeah, and like Joycey said, it's such a like meat is such a cultural thing for a lot of people. So I think it's, just choosing your battles and like doing what feels good to you. And if it's not realistic for you to switch because, whatever it is with your family, then again, you can always do reducing at home. Like I'm, mostly vegan at home, but when I go out, I am a little more flexible because I don't want to be a bother to people. And also I don't want to make my family cook vegan for me. And I'm way too lazy to cook vegan for myself and like bring it. Like if I'm going to mom's house, mom's cooking for me. Like I'm not.
I do love it.
I'm not bringing my own food to my mom's house. You crazy? Like,
that's why we go to mom's house.
that's why I come here is to get fed.
Get treated like a queen.
Yeah, exactly.
My mom the past couple of visits are like, you keep bringing coolers with your prepped meal stuff, and I'm like, I have a
really good
thing that I have to get to, okay, Mom? Otherwise, I'm like, oh, what are we having? And she's like, oh, we have all this, or
garlic
like,
bread, and
it's just nice because like they also know sometimes like that one childhood cooked meal that like is your go-to if you're sick or like just miss home. And my mom just knows like, oh, this is what we're having tonight, because I know you don't make it as much out there. And it's just like, thanks, it reminds me of my childhood. So
my mom always makes like a shrimp macaroni salad whenever we have like parties or get together, and it's so good. But I obviously don't eat the shrimp anymore, but she like makes a bowl for me that like doesn't have shrimp in it, and I'm like, yes, like, but it's basically just like pasta, mayo, cheese. You know what I mean? Like
that's
it's
the best.
just macaroni salad.
Yeah, but she has started like the last couple times I've come, she's bought protein pasta and like mixed it in with the regular pasta. So like it's like 50-50. She's like, it's like $5 a box. So I didn't buy all protein pasta, but I did mix it in, and I'm like, that's fair.
It's
Thank
like, I'm
you.
trying.
Yeah,
I
she's
feel
like, I'm
like
trying.
with us getting older and knowing like this is what we have, like with your mom with that, when I go now, my mom doesn't do the shame of like, oh, you brought your own food. You know, like we could have just bought and stuff, or, you know, like, why aren't you having the same stuff as everybody else? To now, she's like, oh, yeah, I know what you're doing. You have a goal, to even being like, hey, when you come out here, I'm going to need help meal prepping with things. And it's like, this is really nice to see, and a really nice, like, adult relationship that I've been hearing about with things, and being like, I like this. I look at that. I did have like a protein question. So like, what is your biggest protein? Is it like your powdered protein that you get mostly for your biggest
So
thing?
So my biggest protein is probably in the protein pasta. Like I tend to, I do the like lentil one, but I love breakfast, but I also, because of my neurospiciness, I tend to eat throughout the day. So I can't have like a huge heavy meal. So I try to save like the grand finale for like the final meal, which is like right before, a couple hours before bedtime. So like that is where it's just like 60-70 grams of protein of just like, like put it all in there, and like it's going to be super heavy. And so dinner is usually like where it's at for me. But I do have like, my protein bars, my yogurt during the summertime when it's actually like hot enough to eat cold stuff. But yeah, so dinner is probably where I just like pile it on, and that's usually protein pasta. And then I like mix it up with like sauces. I have like 4 different sauces for the next like 4 weeks that I'm like, I'm going to rotate each of you. I feel like I'm having something new.
It is. It's like something different for your mind.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, like I have my safe foods, and so I know I can eat these for months. But like every once in a while, I'm like, I'm tired of eating tomato sauce. I think I'm gonna do like sun-dried tomato pesto, and then regular pesto, and then I'm gonna do, this. And then I'm growing veggies on my front porch. So I have radishes right now, and I was like, I have never eaten radishes know of. So I was like, what am I gonna do with these? So I was like Googling. I was like, oh, I can just like chop up the whole plant and then throw them in my sauce. And so that's what I did. I only got 2, but I was like, I have 2 radishes, so I'm adding them into my macros
Yum.
for 4 meals.
I usually eat them
So
with
it's a
like
hectic.
with tacos. Like you eat them with like lemon,
Yeah.
some lemon juice on top, some little sprinkles of salt.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah.
eat them like that. So good, so good.
That's what the other suggestion was like putting them on tacos, and I was like, I ate tacos last week for lunch, so I don't have taco seasoning. So I was like, is it gonna taste bad if I toss them into like pasta sauce? And everything was like, no. It'll taste, if you like saute it, it won't have the like peppery taste as much. But yeah, we're all learning here.
That's true. I was gonna ask you, just out of curiosity, like obviously you did nutrition with Amanda. She taught you kind of like how much protein you should be hitting every day. Like, are you still sustaining that amount of protein? Like, how many grams are you doing a day? Just out of curiosity.
Like minimally, I'm doing at least 125 grams of protein, and then, but my like daily goal is to like get to 145, 150. So
are you still recording everything, or is that still a practice?
Yeah, so I still record. I have like taken a month or 2 off just because I was traveling so much. In April was Vegas, where I got to hang out with you guys again. And then May, I moved. June, I was at a conference. So like this is my like, okay, I don't have anything going on for a couple months, so I can like settle in. And my sister-in-law, Lily, who, worked with Amanda as well, just ended her like 9 months of working with her. So she had texted me about like, hey, like I want an accountability buddy to like keep me on track with like, do you want to like share macros like every day, or like do like a weekly check-in to like share stuff? And I was like, actually, if we could do the daily macros, because I need to be getting into this and I'm avoiding like logging, even though like I'm eating well, like I'm
Oh
avoiding
yeah.
logging it. So I'm like, you need to be logging because I know you're not eating enough protein, and so you need to be tracking it. So we've been doing that for 2 days now. But yeah, I did that for a little while with my mom when she got into the macros earlier this year, but that's a whole other conversation of saying like you're not eating enough. And she's like, I think I'm gonna
Mm.
cut down more. I'm like, Mom, you need to be eating more. You're not. She's like, well, I don't need to lose. I need to lose more fat than you, because I think her fat was at like 30 grams of fat. And I was like, Mom, you need to be at least eating like
Ooh.
50, 60
50.
grams of fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, at least 50. I was like, I eat, 60, like 60, 65 was what Amanda had me at.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you need to be doing at least 50. And then then she kept like lowering her protein, and she also does a lot of like biking. And then, cause then she was like, well, I don't want to get bulky. I was like, Mom, you're not going to get bulky
That's always the
eating
biggest
100,
thing.
It's
like
are you
103
drinking like
grams.
3 protein shakes, just like
Right.
muscle protein, and just like continuously doing that? No. And
Yeah.
not just like little shakes, like you're doing a 2
Yeah.
scoop for each shake. My mom says the same thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
these are my macros. Have you seen me get bigger? The only time I
Right.
get bigger
Right.
is because I'm either cutting everything and
Or
picking
like
other
I'm
things.
purposefully having to do it to
Yeah.
like get that look.
And it's like, you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even maintaining that. You're doing $1,100 calories or less, and your body's like holding on because it's like you're starving.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and she does a lot of like biking, so it's like, she'll get like she does like 10 miles of biking and stuff. And so she was doing like the weightlifting a lot at the gym with my brother-in-law and my sister when they moved down there, but since yeah, they haven't been able to go to the gym. My mom's just been getting back into the cardio, which is still important, but I'm also like, well, also as a woman, especially as women get older, it's even more important that we're weightlifting because it's good for bone density. I mean, it's good for everybody, but for women especially, because I think we're more prone to osteoporosis. So like it's even more important that you're lifting weights. But she was saying that like her arms were getting bigger when she was doing it, and I was like, well, yeah, it's because there's like muscle underneath. I was like, you just have to like fine tune. And my mom is also, I grew up with a lot of very strong women. So they were all always outdoors, physical labor, working. And like my mom could still probably crush me in an arm wrestling match. Like I haven't arm wrestled her since I was like in high school, and I'm still too afraid because I'm like, I've been doing all this work, and if she still crushes me in this, like my spirit will be broken. I'm in my mid 30s, like I can't like I've been working too hard to be like annihilated by my mom in an arm wrestling match.
Hey, if anything, hashtag goals, right? That means hopefully at that time you're gonna be beating so you can't.
Yeah, I gotta wait for her to age more where she becomes more fragile, and then I'll be able to beat her.
But so you're like, oh yeah, don't lift because if
Yeah.
we do this
That will
arm
ruin
wrestling
me.
thing, I'm about to break a bone.
Don't you dare do
Yeah,
CrossFit.
like yeah, well, and she's she's right-handed and I'm left-handed, so it's like regardless there's a advantage on both sides, but it's like she's still it's like she's also an adult arm wrestling a teenager, so obviously the but yeah, that's something that I'm just like, I'm not arm wrestling her because I can't mentally deal with being beat by her.
But it's funny because it's like your mom and her generation can still see bulky. Just like I've seen that with like when I first didn't want to do CrossFit, it was like bulky, and there's so many women even our age or younger, and that's still the mentality of, well, if I eat this way or if I do this, I'm gonna bulk up. And knowing like the math behind it, it's like, oh no, I have to do X, Y, and Z actually to bulk up.
Yeah. And I have always been muscled, so it was just like I never really had a fear of like being bulky. Like I just wanted to be healthy and be, so when I learned that like, oh, I can actually like gain more muscle and like trim up a little bit, then like that would be great. But like I've always enjoyed being more muscled because also like I love to eat. so I can't maintain like a skinny form. I mean, to be fair, I'm like 5'8", but I've also like always just been well muscled. So it's just like I can't maintain a tiny frame. Like it's too unsustainable and too hard for me. I
Mhm.
enjoy food way too much, and I'll just be unhappy and miserable. And I am a pizza and beer girl, so like I want to be able to enjoy the things I want because I am only on this planet one time. So I just want to be able to live long enough to do it.
Oh, I love that. I'm like, I miss our pizza days and the trivia.
It's also funny how long I've lived and out here, and you were out here this whole entire time, and then
No, that's the
be with
crazy
you that
part.
small part.
Yeah, my real estate agent here in Tennessee, like when I was up seeing a property with her, we were 3 years apart, where it was like that we have crossed paths before.
That's crazy.
But I was like, that is so funny that you just happen to be from this like same small little town. But her husband worked like the gas lines or
Oh, okay.
Oh,
and so that's why they moved back out to Tennessee because that's similar thing. But I was like, that is
fascinating.
amazing. I just moved from there.
That's insane. I would never think of running into someone from Arizona.
Yeah, like it was.
That's
I think
wild.
we were both just kind of like shook that
That's
someone else knew what Kingman, Arizona was.
what it is. Yeah, that is too.
Yeah, what it is, who it is. But yeah, it's I do think of Bitch and Fries a lot from Rickety.
Sauce.
I think of them often.
Well, all I gotta say is you're always welcome. I have a spare room. You already know we can have pizza tonight. I need to go out there too, at least and visit or something. But I know you were in between settling down and everything, so
Yeah.
we
Well,
have
I
to
was like, you guys have to come out and we do like a CrossFit tour in Asheville because there's like
Oh.
there's like 6 CrossFit gyms in Asheville, 6 or 7 of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
So, and then
there's a lot of
it's called Beer City for a reason. I think Asheville is like the
No way.
highest density of breweries per capita, like in the country. So yeah,
Absolutely.
we're not. I mean,
That would be a
Amanda
good idea.
probably is cringing about like drink, but
I mean, you know me, I'm always down for a beer too or a glass of wine in Blake's case. But
Yeah, I was like, I don't like beer.
yeah,
I've tried
That's
ales, I've tried all kinds of things, and people are like,
cider?
this one tastes, and cider. They're like, this tastes good. This tastes good. I'm like, they all taste the same to me. Like shit.
yeah.
That's fair.
But I'm one of those. Like, if you want to drink beer, go ahead. Thank you.
Mhm.
I am, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I will always taste. I will do
Yeah.
that for anybody who's like, try this. Now I'm like, all right, if I don't like it, I don't like it. Like, that's the worst thing. It's not going to kill me.
Yeah. Also, Dollywood is out here, so I mean, that's another big thing.
That's
I
something
so badly want to go. Like,
Yes.
I really want to go to Dollywood.
I do too.
Yes. I'm like, that is like on a bucket list for sure. That I'm just like, I really want to.
I heard it's amazing. And the food too. Oh
Yep.
man. Sold. I know there's so many things.
It might have to be
Save it for your
Joycey.
stuff.
I was like,
Yeah.
it might have to be the Joycey and Grace tour and Blake Jackson.
Right? We just have one of those little stick Blakes just walking.
Yeah.
around. It's like,
Kinda like, what happened? Oh, she pops in every
Broke a
time one of us
leg.
can't go.
That's
It's like
hilarious.
Emily, our non-intern, our non-paid intern.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Pops in when we need her to.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Grace, for joining us tonight. I learned a lot. I don't know about you, Joyce.
So did I.
I
Yeah.
learned, like a lot. I also learned, there was probably like 45 minutes ago when I was like, how are we friends about the zucchini and the shrimp thing? And I remembered when you were talking about your background of hunting and self-sufficient and that, and my Cali city girlness knows now why I needed a protector, and that is you. And
Aw.
Joyce needs it too. So
Yeah.
our strong
fight anybody.
Amazonian woman.
I'll fight anybody for you guys. I'm very reactive, so I will immediately jump on any fight bandwagon. I'm not going to let someone go into a fight alone. So
Put
Yeah.
me in, coach. Put me in.
Daisy's like, peace, peace. And you're like, no, I got them at the top. Like, you get their ankles.
yeah, yeah.
I'll be like, let's have a civil discussion, guys. We don't need to go to violence. This is unnecessary.
Like,
Both of us are like, violence.
yeah.
I'm like, I am so
already lit their
disappointed.
house on fire.
Yeah. No worries. Like, got the matches. Set it on
Yeah.
fire. Like, it's
You're
safe.
not going to be implicated in any way.
Like, did you get the shovel? Yes, I'm already creating the hole that you told me to make.
And I'm calling the lawyer.
Yeah.
Because you guys are going to get us in a hot mess.
Yeah.
But no, I really, really enjoyed this. Like, it opened my mind to so many different things. And I know that you say you're on like the lazier side or whatnot. It's still to me a lot that you do, and think of what's going into your body and how your performance is happening, why you did it. Like, it's really cool to find out like the reason behind it and what you do for your body. So thank you so much for
No.
joining us and letting us know that.
No problem. I'm glad I got to be on here. I was thinking of, I had a lot of people that will ask with like zombie apocalypse, where they're just like, well, what would you do if like zombie apocalypse is like,
Mhm.
well, obviously I will go back to eating meat, but like right now I live in the United States where I can go to the grocery store and I can afford like, you know, if a zombie apocalypse hits, like I'll have that discussion at that point. But like right now, I you know, have the choice, so I'm not going to.
And we
Don't
would get
kick
to
them
Grace because
tail.
she could hunt. So she will keep us
Yeah.
alive.
I'm like, what do you think? She's just gonna sit there and be like, oh, poor me. Oh, Bellatrix.
She's like, leave my mom alone so she can go to sleep now because I'm tired. She looks so exhausted. She's just like, can you guys just shut it so we can go to bed?
Yeah, she usually like curls up next to me, so it's probably why she's here. She's like, it is bedtime. Like, it is
Aw,
quiet
I know her
time. Like,
face.
it's time for us to cuddle. Like,
Don't you want to cuddle with me?
yeah, she's like,
Don't you like me? I like you.
And I like meat.
she's like, and thank you for giving me cat food with meat in it.
And well, that's it, guys. That wraps it up for today's episode. And